Part 19. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 181. Su Yang refined a total of 3 sock talismans, one of which was used, one was given to Wang Fuegui, and the other was given to Li Feixuan. The talismans of Wang Fuegui and Li Feixuan are completely different. The talisman given to Li Feixuan has been transformed. But no matter which talisman is activated, Su Yang can detect it immediately. Just now, he sensed that Li Feixuan's sock talisman was under attack. The starting point is actually the Li family manor. Su Yang's face was as dark as water, and he murmured, "Who is so courageous that he dares to attack my wife in the Li family manor? Li Chunfeng is not low in level, and he didn't stop her. Or is he incapable of stopping it?" With this thought in his mind, Su Yang's expression became more and more solemn, and he immediately left the riverside villa. Now, he is a cultivator at the 5th level of Qi training, and he can run faster than a car. However, in order not to attract onlookers, Su Yang has always used cars as a means of transportation. But now, in order to rush for time, Su Yang gave up the car, stepped on the spiritual energy, and ran as fast as possible in the dark night. "Honey, please don't let anything happen to you. Now." Li family manor. The sock talisman was suspended in the air, emitting heart-stopping energy fluctuations, attracting everyone's attention. "Feixuan, leave quickly." Li Kuowu was the first to react, pulling Li Feixuan and running behind Li Chunfeng. Seeing this, Li Chunfeng breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Feixuan, where did you get this sock? It's so magical." "Su." Li Feixuan originally wanted to say that it was given by Su Yang, but she changed her mind and said, "It was given by Su Xiantian." "Su Xiantian." Li Chunfeng paused, and then said, "That should be right, this sock is an ancient talisman, and it is defensive and can block fatal injuries. In the Jimin black market a few days ago, although I didn't see him kill the Banbu Dizone with my own eyes, I heard afterwards that Su Xiantian used an ancient talisman to severely injure the Banbu Dizone before he was able to kill him. It seems that Su Xiantian has a great background. He actually possesses so many ancient talismans." Li Chunfeng looked at his granddaughter and then asked doubtfully, "Fei Xian, why did Su Xiantian give you the ancient talisman?" "Maybe it's for Su Yang's sake," Li Feixuan explained. Li Feixuan is a smart woman. Although Su Yang didn't tell her, she had vaguely guessed it. His fiancée Su Yang is Su Xiantian, a young man from Jiangbei who has recently become famous. First of all, Li Feixuan began to doubt the tea bricks. In her opinion, Su Yang is a person who keeps his promises. If he promises to wish his grandfather a birthday, he will definitely deliver it. Why didn't Su Yang come that day, but someone sent a tea brick of wealthy flowers in the name of Mr. Su? Mr. Su, who is he? Li Feixuan remained skeptical. Besides, Su Yang gave her black socks, saying they could block the Grand Master's attacks. Li Feixuan only accepted it symbolically and did not fully believe it, thinking that Su Yang was joking with her. But now, she knew that Su Yang was not lying, and those black socks really saved her life. The sock talisman is exclusive to Su Xiantian. In the entire Jiangbei, anyone who cares about ancient martial arts knows that a few days ago, Su Xiantian used a sock talisman to severely damage the Banbu district. The socks given by Su Yang are almost the same as the socks Su Xiantian owns. Certainly. This does not necessarily mean that Su Yang is Su Xiantian. Maybe Su Yang's socks were given by Su Xiantian. But combined with Su Yang's mysterious hidden strength before, Li Feixuan had an intuition that her fiancé must be Su Xiantian. But Li Feixuan understood that Su Yang must have had his own concerns because he did not choose to reveal his identity. So she didn't tell her grandfather, and she lied a little when answering the question about the origin of the sock talisman. "This is." At this moment, Ito raised his head, his eyes fell on the sock talisman, and frowned, What a strange sock, it can actually block my sword flow. The talisman, the heritage of the Chinese country, is unfathomable. But that's all. As he said that, Ito showed a sneer. I used to attack at will, which can crush the master level. I didn't use all my strength. At most, it was an attack comparable to the peak of a master. But, I only used 1/10 of my strength. If I use my full strength, it will definitely not be able to stop it. Ito concluded. Whoosh. But who would have expected that at this moment, the sock talisman would shine brightly, and then send out a terrifying sword light, quickly shooting towards Ito. Ito was looking at the sock talisman. He didn't expect that the sock would take the initiative to attack, and the speed would be so fast, almost as fast as himself. Puff. The next moment, Ito's cheek was scratched by the light of the knife. Although it was not serious, it left a bloody mark. This sock talisman can not only withstand a full-strength blow from the Grand Master, but can also absorb the power of that blow and reflect the same amount of damage. In other words, the greater the power and speed of the opponent's attack, the greater and faster the rebound power and speed will be. What Ito used just now was a one-sword style. Although he was spared in terms of strength, the speed was almost the same as his full-strength attack. In addition, Ito was careless, so his cheek was cut open by the rebound damage from the sock talisman. Damn it! Ito was instantly furious. He never thought that when he came to Jiangbei, one of his socks would bleed, so he held a katana in his hand and prepared to use the Ito style. But... Trash, why didn't you tell me earlier? You shut up. Ito shouted coldly, then stared at Li Feixuan and said in a deep voice, "Tell me, do you know Suxian?" With a sneer on his face, Ito approached Li Feixuan step by step, and said with a greedy smile, "Whether you recognize her or not, I will never let you go." Ito smiled playfully, then came to Li Feixuan and reached out to catch Li Feixuan. So far. Seeing this, Li Chunfeng immediately used the Li family's internal skills, mobilized all the energy in his body, and killed Ito. He has already killed 3 martial arts disciples with his own hands. He is a bit useless to his teammates. In less than 10 minutes, he severely damaged all the Li family masters, including Li Chunfeng. Ito alone faced many masters of the Li family without any panic and faced them with a katana in hand. "I will take you back to my residence and play with you in all possible ways. Haha, this is my first time playing with such a beautiful Chinese woman. I don't know how it feels. Old dog, I want you to die without a burial place. Haha, it's just a trash fish." Li Chunfeng stood up and explained, "My granddaughter Li Feixuan is engaged to Su Yang of the Su family. Su Xiantian must have given the sock talisman to Feixuan for the sake of the Su family's face. Girl, now I have changed my mind. I want to take off your clothes in front of everyone here and let them see with their own eyes how I ravage you." At this time, the martial arts disciple next to him reminded, a few days ago, Su Xiantian used a sock talisman. This should be Susuanation's thing. The Li family lied. They must have something to do with Su Xiantian. Li Feixuan's voice was trembling, her heart was in her throat, and she still dared not face Ito. "Stop. Haha, forget it if you don't answer." After the sock talisman attacked, it completely lost its energy, turned into an ordinary sock, and fell to the ground. Feixuan. He did not use the one-sword style, because the one-sword style is a killing technique, and Ito had concerns and did not want to make the matter a big deal, for fear of causing the national blade to pursue him. Li Chunfeng and the others all lost their fighting power and lay on the ground with serious injuries, unable to stop them. Ito's face was as dark as water. He gave this man a cold look, and then with a wave of his hand, he ended this man's life. He killed a person with just a raise of his hand. Li Feixuan had never seen such a person before. She was so frightened that her face turned pale and she did not dare to answer. Many Li family masters nearby also took action, and the real energy was rampant in the scene. "Sir, didn't I tell you that our Li family has nothing to do with Sushientian? Ito senpai." After killing the martial arts disciple who spoke, Ito's eyes fell on Li Feixuan and asked coldly, "Do you know Sushientian?" But at the critical moment, a voice suddenly came from the distance, and the tone was full of monstrous anger. At this moment, Ito put away his katana and stretched out his withered palm to Li Feixuan with a sinister smile. No more energy, Ito looked at the sock talisman from a distance and frowned slightly. There is no doubt about Ito's strength. The Earth Sect realm is so terrifying. When concubine Li saw this, she burst into tears immediately. She was completely despairing. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 182. At the critical moment, Su Yang is here. He logged into Susuanation's account, with a stern face, and approached Ito step by step. A cold aura was exuding from his body, and the air around him seemed to condense. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, everyone's eyes fell on Su Yang. Sushientian. Senior Ito, he is Sushientian. It smells so scary, I can't control my trembling. It's so scary. When the few remaining martial arts disciples recognized Sushientian, their expressions suddenly changed and their bodies trembled. Sushientian, are you really here? Li Chunfeng and many Li family masters also looked at Sushientian, their eyes full of hope. Now they have no power to fight back. They were injured by Ito and can't stand up. They can only place their hope on Sushientian. Su Yang, is that you? Concubine Li Xian looked at Sushientian who was walking over, her eyes were dull and slightly complicated. At this moment, under the gaze of everyone, Su Yang strode through Ito and walked to Li Feixuan. Then, he raised his hand to lift up Li Feixuan's hair. The overwhelming murderous intention around him disappeared without a trace, and he said softly, "Don't be afraid, I will protect you." Li Feixuan only guessed that Su Yang was Sushientian, but it had not been confirmed yet, so she took half a step back with evasive eyes. "Wait until I get rid of these rubbish, and then I can talk to you slowly, wife." Su Yang looked at Li Feixuan with a smile and said softly. But for the last two words, he didn't make a sound, he just showed his mouth movements. Due to the angle, no one could see it, only Li Feixuan saw it. You really?" Li Feixuan was overjoyed instantly, her excited expression changed, and there was light shining in her eyes. "Shhh." Su Yang shook his head and signaled his wife not to continue talking. Yeah, Li Feixuan nodded obediently. "Wait for me." Su Yang raised his hand and rubbed Li Feixuan's long hair. This time, Li Feixuan did not avoid it and stood still and allowed Su Yang to stroke it. After comforting Li Feixuan, Su Yang turned around and stared at Ito. In an instant, monstrous murderous intent swept through, crushing all directions. At the same time, a strong wind blew through, blowing dust all over the sky. "Are you Sushientian?" Ito's eyes also fell on Su Yang, his eyes dark and terrifying. Su Yang responded coldly, "If it's fake, it will be replaced." "Humph, you finally showed up, Sushientian. A few days ago, you committed atrocious massacres in Country D, killing 80,000 soldiers and killing our military advisor Chen Shangyun. This is unforgivable." Ito held the katana in his hand and said solemnly, "Today, I will take the head from your neck and let you atone for your crimes." He. Su Yang was not afraid and sneered, "You don't take a pee and look at yourself. Are you worthy of killing me? Arrogant, young man, I'm afraid you don't know my name yet." Ito said arrogantly, "My name is Ito. In Country D, my strength can be ranked among the top 10. I am the founder of Idoryu and a true master of the Earth sect. I have also heard about your strength. It takes a lot of effort to kill even a half-step Earth sect, and the strongest one is only a half-step Earth section. You have to know that there is a huge difference between a half-step Earth sect and a true Earth section. Ito said confidently, I will kill you like killing a chicken, only with my backhand. Now, the last person who spoke arrogantly in front of me has long since turned into a corpse. Su Yang took a step forward, his eyes were blazing, and he said in a cold voice, I, Su Xiantian, have traveled across the mountains and seas since I was born, looking down upon the 9 heavens and 10 lands. I can kill anyone who provokes me, and you can't. It will be an exception. Young Junior, you are ignorant and fearless. You have angered me. Ha, die. Ito became angry from embarrassment, and then used his sword style and slashed with his sword. In an instant, the air around him buzzed, and the sharp sword light carried terrifying power and attacked Su Yang. Just in time. But everyone at the scene was affected. Father, who do you think will win, Su Xiantian or Ito? At this time, Li Kuo helped Li Chunfeng up and asked curiously. Li Kuo was suddenly thought of the scene just now, and couldn't help but said, Father, is there any story between Su Xiantian and Fei Xian? Could he have cheated on Su Yang? Even one of the weaker martial arts disciples was shocked to death in an instant. Chen Shangyun relied on blood-devouring beads to forcibly improve his strength, while Ito relied on diligent study and hard training. Therefore, Su Yang guessed that Ito was not a real Earth sect, but there was only a slight difference between him and the Earth sect. Su Yang could defeat the Earth sect half-step with all his strength, but he was no match for the real Earth section. When encountering the Earth sect, he had no choice but to run away. Only by performing blood sacrifice could he obliterate the Earth sect. Ito is indeed a half-step Earth sect now, but he is different from Chen Shangyun. I can't say for sure, both of them are very strong. Li Chunfeng and others were doing better, and concubine Li Xian was protected by Su Yang, so there was no problem. However, the disciples of Pingdao Martial Arts Hall were not so lucky and were directly injured. Ito had the upper hand, and it was Su Yang who was completely suppressing him to fight. The aura surrounded him during his strikes, and his punches and kicks were so powerful. There is no doubt that Su Yang guessed it right. That's all. Li Chunfeng raised his eyes and looked forward, showing an appreciative smile. This Su Xiantian is truly a genius. In his early 20s, he already has combat power comparable to that of an Earth section. He is as talented as a demon. The next moment, the water blade and the sword light came into contact, and the aftermath of the battle rippled around. In the end, both disappeared invisible and cancelled each other out. As soon as he finished speaking, Ito held the katana in his hand, and with the genkai surging around his body, he attacked Su Yang. Su Yang's eyes flashed, and he immediately condensed the water blade and threw it out. At first. However, the emphasis of Idoryu is to kill with one strike. Ito was unable to attack for a long time. He was anxious and angry, and soon his mentality went wrong. Su Xiantian, although I am not an Earth sect yet, killing you is enough. Haha, old dog, your strength is average, but I admire your ability to speak big words. Boom. Now that Su Yang has reached the 5th level of Qi training, the water blade is much stronger than before. Su Yang sneered and said, if I guess correctly, you are still a little short of a real Earth sect, right? Now. Su Yang's eyes were sharp, and he was not careless. He mobilized his spiritual energy to meet Ito. He has stayed in the Banbu dissect for 10 or 20 years, and has touched the threshold of the dissection. It can take as little as 3 to 5 days, as long as 5 or 6 months, to truly set foot in the dissect. On the other hand, Su Yang and Ito were still standing where they were, and no one suffered any loss from this collision. You have never set foot in the Earth sect, and yet you claim to be the Earth section. Are you, the masters of country D, shameless? Although Ito has not set foot in the Earth sect, his strength cannot be underestimated. The one-sword style is indeed a good killing technique, and Su Yang has to deal with it carefully. Moreover, Su Yang could sense that Ito was stuck at a bottleneck. Once he got over the bottleneck, his strength would improve by leaps and bounds. But just now, he tried to catch Ito's sword light, and then he realized that the opponent was only strong on the outside and not as strong as he thought. The two started fighting, and spiritual energy and true energy crisscrossed the entire place. Susuanation's attitude towards Fei Xian just now was surprisingly good. His eyes when he looked at Fei Xian were full of love. Especially, he actually touched Fei Xian's hair. Ito came to Jiangbei this time because he wanted to use the battle with Su Xiantian to inspire himself and set foot in the Earth section. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 183. Su Xiantian cheated on Su Yang? Hearing these words, Li Chunfeng was stunned. After a moment of silence, he whispered, "It should be green." It's true that Feixuan could do such a thing. Although Su Yang was a waste before and had done many things that were sorry for Feixuan, she couldn't. Li Kuowu's face looked a little ugly, and then said, "It's all my fault. I didn't educate the concubine well. I'm sorry for Su Yang." Although he had no favorable impression of Su Yang, Li Kuowu's first reaction was to be ashamed when his daughter did something immoral. Why? Li Chunfeng also sighed and said, "It has happened. Now is not the time to hold people accountable. Su Xiantian and concubine Xian did such a thing. After all, our Li family is the one who should be ashamed of Su Yang." "Father." Li Kuowu paused, and then asked, "Do you want to tell Su Yang about this?" "No need for the moment. The relationship between Su Xiantian and the Su family is quite complicated. If Su Yang finds out, it will only make things more complicated. Rather than doing this, it is better to hide it." Li Chunfeng thought for a moment, and then said seriously, "Kuowu, although Su Xiantian saved our Li family this time, it does not mean that we have to accept his relationship with Feixuan. We, the Li family and the Su family, have made an engagement long ago and we must abide by it. We must not follow the trend and choose to break the engagement in order to please the young Earth sect." Su Xiantian, Li Chunfeng said sternly. "Yes." Li Kuowu nodded and said, "After today, I will strictly discipline concubine Xian and prohibit him from meeting Su Xiantian." Yeah, Li Chunfeng nodded, and then said, "Also, if you have the chance, make it up to Su Yang. He is quite pitiful. He has been wearing a green hat before he married concubine Xian. His family is unfortunate." "Clear." Li Kuowu responded, "I already have an idea and I will make it up to Su Yang." "Dad, Grandpa, what are you talking about? Why are you making up for Su Yang?" At this time, Li Feixuan came over and asked curiously. Li Chunfeng and Li Kuowu glanced at Li Feixuan. Both of them were a little angry and ignored Li Feixuan. Li Feixuan did not notice anything was wrong, but asked, "Grandpa, do you think Su Xiantian can beat that person?" "Have no idea." Li Chunfeng looked at Li Feixuan, and finally couldn't hold it back, and secretly said, "Feixuan, women must abide by the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Have you read the Women's Sutra at home?" "Grandpa, what kind of age are we in now? Equality between men and women is emphasized. Who still reads that kind of book?" Concubine Li Xian smiled. You are going to make me mad." Li Chunfeng gritted his teeth and simply turned his head away from Li Feixuan to avoid getting angry. "Dad, what's wrong with Grandpa? Did I do something wrong?" Li Feixuan looked confused. "You did something wrong, don't you understand?" Li Kuowu was slightly unhappy. After giving Li Feixuan a blank look, he also turned aside and ignored Li Feixuan. Baffling. Concubine Li showed a hint of suspicion, and then her eyes fell on Su Xiantian in the distance. Ever since she found out that Su Xiantian was Su Yang, Li Feixuan felt particularly happy. Her admiration for Su Yang reached its peak and she felt proud to have a fiancé like Su Yang. Previously, she only thought that Su Yang was hiding his strength and keeping a low profile. At that time, she had already accepted Su Yang. Now that Li Feixuan knew that Su Yang was the famous young sect, the excitement deep in her heart was beyond words. Every girl longs for her significant other to be an indomitable hero, galloping between heaven and earth. And Su Xiantian is such a man. Su Xiantian, come on, I believe you can defeat your opponent. Li Feixuan prayed secretly, with little stars in her beautiful eyes, full of admiration for Su Yang. Hey, my family is unlucky, my family is unlucky. When Li Chunfeng saw this scene, he sighed and hung his head in anger. Li Kuowu was the same way. He wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. He didn't teach his daughter well. At the same time, the battle between Su Yang and Ito has reached a fever pitch. The two sides fought for more than 100 rounds. Su Yang hit harder and harder, while Ito's momentum was obviously weaker. After setting foot on the 5th level of Qi training, Su Yang had not fought with anyone, so he took this opportunity to get familiar with his own power. After all, Ito was old. Although he was strong, his energy was limited. In addition, his one-sword style could not kill Su Yang instantly, which caused his mentality to explode and he was at a disadvantage. Boom! Suddenly, Su Yang gathered two water blades and attacked from left and right, directly knocking Ito back. Puff! After stabilizing his body, Ito spit out a mouthful of blood and looked slightly pale. You dare to threaten to kill me just like this, Su Yang stood there and said coldly. Now, the sequelae of blood sacrifice are too serious, and Su Yang is unwilling to use it unless it is absolutely necessary. I have a special move. Using it will consume a lot of energy, so I haven't used it yet. Ito Senpai's one-sword style is incredibly fast, but it lacks the ultimate burst, and the IAI slash can completely make up for it. This IAI one-sword slash is invincible. In just an instant, Ito's abdomen was pierced by the water dragon, and a transparent hole the size of a grapefruit appeared. At the beginning, Su Yang's spiritual energy was relatively weak, so he could only condense water balls. 2. IIAI kills with one sword. Now, I can't care so much anymore, Su Xiantian, just die. Boom. The internal organs are clearly visible. The IAI slash is a powerful killing technique, as is the Ito style. Ito Senpai actually combined the two. The next moment, Suiryu used a strong stance to smash Ito's IAI slash, and with undiminished power, he attacked Ito. What? Ito said his last words, then his body collapsed and died in pain. Ito was shocked, his withered old face was full of horror, and he quickly escaped. This afternoon, he was not idle at the riverside villa, but practiced a new attack method, water dragon technique. When Su Yang saw this, he didn't panic, nor did he use the blood, but quickly kneaded the secret with both hands. In an instant, a water dragon appeared in Su Yang's palm, then roared and rushed out. Su Yang was already at the 5th level of Qi training, and his spiritual energy was much thicker than before, so he learned the water dragon technique to condense his spiritual energy into the shape of a dragon, like a living creature, which was terrifying. But the water dragon, like a living creature, changed its direction and passed directly through Ito's body. The water dragon shines in the world, showing its teeth and claws, exuding the glorious power of the dragon, shocking everything in the world. Slowly, he reached the 3rd level of Qi training and mastered the water blade. After the words fell, Ito became angry and clenched his katana, mobilized all his energy, concentrated it on the blade body, and slashed out with all his strength. The disciples of Pingdao martial arts school, who had long been injured by the aftermath of the battle, were lying on the ground talking with shock on their faces. Roar! Ito wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said angrily, "Okay, great, you forced me. At this time, I shouldn't have come to Jiangbei. Wow. Hee hee." This scene made everyone present stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. The scene was dripping with blood. Iai cuts with one sword. Facing Ito's Iai slash, Su Yang decided to fight with the water dragon technique and changed the techniques with both hands. Suxientian. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 184. Died. The powerful D-Country Master, Ito, the founder of Idoryu, a near-real Earth sect, died like this. This water dragon is actually alive. What a weird trick, it's unheard of. Suxientian is really powerful. His ability to control the true energy is beyond my knowledge. The condensed water dragon looks like he himself. The combination of man and dragon, this is no longer a simple matter of mobilizing the true energy. He must have mastered the true energy. Only a genius with a genius like a demon can do it. Among the many experts in the Li family, there are many well-informed people, but they still praise Suxientian full of praise and even highly praise him. This son's future achievements are limitless. Li Chunfeng also praised him, but his impression of Suxientian had been greatly reduced. It is human nature and understandable for men to like women, but cuckolding someone, this kind of behavior is too bad. It has no morals and no bottom line. For this kind of person, Li Chunfeng didn't like him in his heart and was particularly disgusted. In comparison, Su Yang is better. He goes to the club openly and aggressively. If he likes it, he will do it. He is upright and upright. This is the good man of China. As for Suxientian, haha, no matter how good his talent is and how profound his background is, he is still just a shady third party and a villain. Back to the scene. There are still a few students left alive among the Hiroshima martial arts school disciples who originally followed Ito to Li's house. However, in the final collision between Su Yang and Ito, they were all killed. At this point, only Su Yang and the Li family were left at the scene. The water dragon condensed by the water dragon technique also disappeared into nothingness after wiping out Ito. What an old dog that deserves to die. Su Yang glanced at Ito's body coldly, then turned around and strode towards Li Feixuan with a smile. However, just when he was about to approach Li Feixuan, Li Kuo stood up and stood in front, protecting Li Feixuan behind him. At the same time, Li Chunfeng said calmly, "I have heard about Mr. Su's name for a long time, and when I saw him today, he is indeed well deserved. Thank you Mr. Su for your generous action. Grandpa Li, you're welcome. This is what I should do. Besides, this person came to Li's house just to find me." Su Yang smiled softly. "Mr. Su, I am of low strength and do not deserve to be called grandpa by you. Please don't hurt me." Li Chunfeng said calmly, "Now that the thief has been eliminated, Mr. Su, the night is already deep, so I won't let you stay here. Don't worry, I plan to chat with concubine Xian for a while," Su Yang said with a smile. "Master Su." Li Chunfeng heard this and said with a cold face, "Feixuan and Su Yang of the Su family have a long-standing engagement. You also know Su Yang. You are sworn friends to Sukinkan. According to seniority, Su Yang is your junior and Feixuan is your grandson-in-law, please respect yourself." Only then did Su Yang realize the reason. No wonder Li Chunfeng was so hostile to him. It turned out that he had thought of this. "Mr. Su, no one in the Su family will know about the matter between you and concubine Xian, so you don't have to worry." Li Chunfeng warned, "Although my Li family is weak, I will not follow others' influence." You don't have to ask the concubine to declare it in the future, so as not to ruin your reputation. What's going on between me and Fei Xian? What can we do? Su Yang smiled bitterly against Su Suanation's face. You've already touched concubine Xian's hair, do you need me to elaborate on the rest? Li Chunfeng said with a gloomy face, Master Su, I really don't know how you can do this and actually cuckold Su Yang. If your brother Sukyankan knew about this, wouldn't you feel embarrassed? Or maybe you don't care about your reputation at all. Am I cuckolding Su Yang? Am I green myself? Su Yang smiled bitterly, but from Li Chunfen's perspective, this was indeed the case. So, after thinking about it, Su Yang's eyes fell on Li Feixuan, and he smiled softly, Feixuan, I will come back to you later. Yeah, concubine Li Xuanyu responded with a blushing face. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang left the Li family manor and quickly disappeared into the black. However, he did not go far, but returned to his original appearance, planning to be with his wife again as Su Yang. At this moment, Li family manor. Li Chunfeng ordered his servants to clean up the corpses and blood stains at the scene, and then together with Li Kuowu, he called concubine Li into the study. Feixuan, do you know you were wrong? Li Chunfeng said lightly. In the study room, there were only Li Chunfeng, his son, and Li Feixuan. Li Feixuan has understood that the reason why her grandfather and father have a bad attitude towards her is because she interacted with Su Xiantian and thought that she had betrayed Su Yang. But, Su Xiantian is Su Yang. However, Su Yang did not tell her, and Li Feixuan did not confess to her family. Therefore, Li Feixuan thought for a while and responded, Grandpa, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't be with Su Xiantian. Shut up, don't mention it again. This kind of thing is unspeakable. Li Chunfeng slapped the table and gritted his teeth and said, it's really unfortunate for our family, it's unfortunate for our family. Li Kuowu stood aside and couldn't help scolding, Fei Xian, how could you do such an immoral thing? The Li family has lost face. Li Feixuan felt that she was more unjust than Doi, but she had no choice but to lower her head and not explain. Go back to your room. If you don't memorize the women's classics thoroughly, don't even think about leaving the room. Li Chunfeng said seriously, also, from now on, if Su Yang doesn't come to pick you up, you will never step out of the Li family. In addition, concubine Xian, you went too far this time. Before Su Yang married you, you made him a cuckold to keep him warm and windproof. This is a heinous crime. Be kind to Su Yang in the future. Li Chunfeng warned, when two people get along, there will definitely be quarrels. Noisy is love. If you quarrel with Su Yang, slap yourself twice first. If you don't, Grandpa can help you. Don't blame Grandpa for his harsh tone. It's really our Li family's disgrace to Su Yang, Li Chunfeng sighed deeply. Yes, Grandpa. Li Feixuan smiled bitterly in her heart, agreed, and then returned to her room. Kuowu, Su Xiantian just said that he would come to Fei Xian in a moment. Li Chunfeng said calmly, Su Suanation's martial arts is so strong that we can't prevent him. Just send someone to keep an eye on Fei Xian and don't let Fei Xian leave the room. Yes. Li Kuowu nodded. Master, Mr. Su Yang, please see me at this time, a servant's voice suddenly came from outside the study. Su Yang. When Li Chunfeng heard this, he stood up immediately, what is he doing here at this time? Did he hear something? Kuowu, go out and see Su Yang and be more polite. It's best to find a way to compensate him. After all, our Li family is sorry for him, Li Chunfeng said. Clear. Li Kuowu agreed, then walked out of the study and saw Su Yang outside the manor. Uncle Su Yang looked at Li Kuowu and greeted with a smile. What's your name, uncle? I call you father-in-law. Li Kuowu said in a gentle manner, anyway, you and Feixuan are getting married soon, so it will be a matter of time before you change your tune. Su Yang paused. He didn't expect Li Kuowu to be so kind to him. After realizing it, he smiled softly and said, "Yes, father-in-law." "Su Yang, what are you doing at Li's house in the middle of the night?" Li Kuowu asked tentatively. Su Yang smiled and said, "I miss Fei Xian a little, so I came to see her." Hearing this, Li Kuowu breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time glanced at Su Yang with pity. This kid probably doesn't know he's been cheated on yet. How pitiful. No, he must atone for his concubine's sins and make amends to Su Yang. So, Li Kuowu smiled softly and said, "Su Yang, I can see concubine Xian anytime. You go with your father-in-law tonight, and he will take you to a good place to have fun." "Ah, what's a good place?" Su Yang asked doubtfully. "You'll know when we get there. Come on, get in the car." Li Kuowu acted resolutely, got a car, and waved to Su Yang. Seeing this, Su Yang did not refuse any more. At the same time, he was a little curious, where would his father-in-law take him? The car was speeding along. About half an hour later, the car stopped, and Su Yang and Li Kuowu got out of the car at the same time. After seeing the familiar environment, Su Yang was stunned, with a look of astonishment on his face. Jade Finger Wonderland, isn't this a high-end club?" Su Yang couldn't believe it and couldn't help but ask, "Father-in-law, have you come to the wrong place? Are you sure you want to take me to play here?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 185. Su Yang never dreamed that Li Kuowu would take him to a high-end club, and it was also the most upscale club in Jiangbei with the most beauties. Li Kuowu is Li Feiquan's biological father and will be his biological father-in-law in the future. Is it okay for my father-in-law to bring his prospective son-in-law to the club to spend money? Sure. Li Kuowu met Su Yang's gaze, a hint of guilt flashed across his expression, and then said with a smile, "Su Yang, let's go, my father-in-law will take you in to have some fun, and give you some more beautiful technicians to massage and squeeze your shoulders, do some special projects, and relax completely." Ahem. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said awkwardly, "Father-in-law, you are testing me to see if I am right. In fact, you don't have to do this. I have changed my ways and will not come to the club to spend money in the future. The only woman in my heart is Fei Xian." When Li Kuowu heard this, he couldn't help but sigh, and felt even more ashamed of Su Yang. In the past, Mr. Su lived in food, drink, prostitution, and gambling, and was a man of wealth. He could be said to be a super playboy. But after the recent close contact with Li Feiquan, Su Yang actually changed his life and gave up the club. It takes a lot of courage to give up the entire forest for a tree. As the saying goes, a prodigal son can never change his fortune. The reformed Su Yang is definitely a good man. His love for Li Feiquan moved even Li Kuowu. Fei Xian, you are so confused. Su Yang is so good to you and would rather give up the gentle hometown of Yingyingyanyan for you. How can you cuckold him?" Li Kuowu sighed in his heart, wishing he could slap his daughter twice. "Father-in-law, what's wrong with you?" At this time, Su Yang asked curiously. "No. Nothing." Li Kuowu took a deep breath to calm himself down so as not to expose any flaws. Then, he looked at Su Yang and smiled softly, "Su Yang, don't worry too much. I don't have time to test you. I really want to bring you to the club. I know you came here often before. As a man, it's normal to be horny." Li Kuowu smiled and said, "I also know that you decided not to find a technician for Feiquan. But this kind of thing is like smoking and drinking. You can't quit it all at once. If you push yourself too hard, it will be bad for your body." Li Kuowu put his arm around Su Yang's shoulders and said with a hearty smile, "Let's go, listen to my father-in-law, let's go in and relax." "Ah, this. Su Yang met Li Kuo's gaze and couldn't help but ask, "Father-in-law, do you also want a technician to accompany you?" When Li Kuo heard this, his face turned red and he looked particularly embarrassed. Actually, his wife is very strict. Although she is the heir to the Li family, she has never been to the club, let alone looking for a beautiful technician. "There is no way, the tigress at home is too powerful, I can't do it myself, I can only be a good man honestly." However, Li Kuo knew that if he brought Su Yang here and didn't choose a technician to accompany him, Su Yang would definitely not dare to play and would think that he was testing him. Then, after thinking about it, Li Kuo nodded and said, "Well, Su Yang, let's play together. Let's go." With that said, Li Kuo put his arm around Su Yang's shoulders and strode into the Jade Finger Wonderland like a good brother. This time, Su Yang did not refuse. Su Yang now is not the young master Su he used to be. He has requirements for women. Most of these women in the club are vulgar and unsightly, and the ones who are a little bit pretty are all trash who have been teased. Su Yang naturally disdains to attack this kind of woman. As mentioned before, who would eat pickles and tofu when you can be full with delicacies from the mountains and sea? Although he doesn't play, his father-in-law wants to play, and Su Yang feels that he needs to accompany him. In this way, Su Yang and Li Kuo walked into the Jade Finger Wonderland Hall together. This point is when the traffic volume of Jade Finger Wonderland is the largest. The manager organized 2 rows of beautiful technicians to check clothing and other things. After seeing Su Yang approaching, the lobby manager of Jade Finger Wonderland's eyes suddenly lit up, as if seeing a golden mountain. He immediately led 2 rows of beautiful technicians to greet him and greeted him with a smile. "Good evening, Mr. Su." "Good evening, Mr. Su." The 2 rows of beautiful technicians obviously knew Su Yang. As soon as the manager finished speaking, they bent down and said hello in unison. Su Yang nodded, then looked at Li Kuo, and asked with a smile, "Father-in-law, what should we do? How about taking a bath first, then asking a technician to do a massage, and finally a pedicure?" It was the first time that Li Kuo saw so many young and beautiful technicians gathered together. For him, the scene was too exciting and he couldn't react for a while. After a long pause, Li Kuo said slowly, "Okay, Su Yang, I'll do as you said, but you don't have to pay tonight, I'll pay the bill." "Haha, okay." Su Yang smiled, turned his eyes to the manager, and said lightly, "Did you hear what my father-in-law said? Go and make arrangements." "Father-in-law? Bringing your father-in-law to the club? Father-in-law is still rushing to pay the bill? Damn it, as expected of young Master Su, what he does is so different, I can't help but accept it." Yes. After learning about the relationship between Li Kuo and Su Yang, the manager was extremely surprised, but he didn't say much. He hurriedly used the intercom to arrange the bath, and then said respectfully, "Young Master Su, and, father-in-law, please come this way." Immediately afterwards, under the leadership of the manager, Su Yang and Li Kuo went to the supreme bath deep in the club. This is a large room with an area of more than 100 square meters, with a bathtub and a bed. The decoration is extremely luxurious and full of European style. The highlight is the bathtub. The water in the bathtub in the room needs to be changed every day and needs to be disinfected in all aspects. It only receives 1 wave of guests every night. It is very clean and is only open to distinguished guests. Of course, it is expensive. Young Master Su, father-in-law, these technicians are all the best in our club. You can choose at will at this time, the manager said with a smile. Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Father-in-law, you come first." Good. Although Li Kuo had made plans, he became timid when he thought of the tigress at home, but in the end he gritted his teeth and picked 2 beautiful technicians with exquisite figures and said, "Just them." "Su Yang, it's your turn to choose. You can choose a few more, It doesn't matter. Li Kuo did not forget his purpose and must make up for Su Yang. I'm a little tired. I plan to take a rest and pick again later. Father-in-law, you play first. Su Yang smiled and waved his hand to signal the manager to take the other technicians away. After the manager left, only Su Yang, Li Kuo, and two beautiful technicians were left in the room. Next, Su Yang and Li Kuo entered the bathtub to take a bath, while two beautiful technicians were waiting aside. About half an hour later, after the bath, Li Kuo lay on the bed next to him and began to enjoy the massage from the beautiful technician. It was his first experience and he felt so comfortable that he couldn't help but smile happily. He had already forgotten about making up for Su Yang. As for Su Yang, he put on the clothes provided by the club and walked to the sofa next to him to sit down. At the same time, his cell phone rang, and it was a WeChat video call from Li Feixuan. Su Yang chose to answer, and concubine Li's beautiful face suddenly appeared on the phone screen. Su Yang, didn't you say you would come back to me? Why didn't you, Su Yang? As Li Feixuan was talking, she suddenly saw the Jade Finger Fairyland Club logo printed on Su Yang's clothes. She immediately gritted her teeth and said, "You went to the club again, right? You are so arrogant. You dared to take my video in the club." I said, "I don't object to you going to the club, but you can't broadcast it live to me. Have you considered my feelings? Honey, don't be angry yet." Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose, showed a wry smile, and continued, "This matter is more complicated. You may not believe it when I tell you. I was dragged to the club by someone else. You also know this person, and you are very familiar with it." After hearing this, concubine Li paused for a moment, then gritted her teeth and said, "What bastard doesn't do good things and drags you to a place like that? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 186. Which bastard? When Su Yang heard this, he quickly smiled bitterly and said, "Honey, you can't say this nonsense. The person who brought me here is not a bastard." "Why not?" In the video, Li Feixuan gritted her teeth and said, "Why would a normal person take you to the club? Su Yang, is that bastard next to you? Let me see who he is." Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said, "Honey, I think it's better if you don't look at it. I'm afraid you won't be able to accept it. There's nothing unacceptable about this. That person can't be my dad," Li Feixuan said casually. "You got it right, he is really your father." Su Yang. Li Feixuan's face darkened and she said angrily, "Don't make such a joke with me. My dad is a clean man and has a good relationship with my mom, so he won't go to the club. You must be lying." Su Yang was hesitating whether to tell Li Feixuan about his father-in-law. But at this time, Li Kuo, who was lying next to him for a massage, suddenly asked with a smile, "Su Yang, who are you video chatting with?" "Haha, father-in-law, I have a friend who you don't know," Su Yang responded. Li Kuo smiled heartily and said, "Friend, haha, ask him if he will come to play. My father-in-law is treating me tonight. Don't be afraid to spend money. My friend is out of town and can't come." Su Yang looked at Li Kuo and asked, "Father-in-law, how is the service at the club? Are you comfortable? Do you need to change technicians?" "No need to change, the two of them are very comfortable." Li Kuo seemed to have opened the door to a new world, and said with a face full of enjoyment, "I didn't know before that massage is so good. No wonder men like to come to the club. Massage and bubble bath can relieve the fatigue of the whole day." "Haha, father-in-law, you can come more often if you like," Su Yang said with a smile. "Well, you can also choose a few technicians. I brought you here tonight." I said, "I will pay for all the expenses." Li Kuo was very generous. Thank you, father-in-law, but I'm a little bored. I'll go out for a walk first and choose again later. That's okay too. Father-in-law, have fun. Su Yang smiled softly, then took his mobile phone and left the large room with a separate bath. After closing the door, Su Yang looked at Li Feichuan on the phone screen and said with a smile, "Honey, you must believe it now. My dad, he really took you to the club, and he even enjoyed it himself." Li Feichuan's expression had long since solidified, with a look of disbelief in her eyes. As a daughter, Li Feichuan could not mishear Li Kuo's voice. Moreover, when Su Yang went out, he specifically turned the camera, and his mobile phone captured Li Kuo's current situation. Li Feichuan clearly saw her father lying on the bed, and two beautiful technicians were massaging his bones. This is unbelievable. How could Dad, such an honest and responsible person, drag Su Yang to the club and keep asking for a treat? This incident completely subverted Li Feichuan's understanding of her father. "Honey, what's going on with my father-in-law? Has he been to the club before?" At this time, Su Yang asked curiously. "Probably not." Li Feichuan explained, "My mother is very strong. She is usually very strict with my father. Even though my father is rich and powerful, he is actually very afraid of my mother. In front of my mother, my father is so honest that he doesn't even dare to breathe." Li Feichuan continued, "Such a person would definitely not dare to go to the club. I don't understand what happened to my dad today and he actually went to the club. It's okay for him to go alone. Why he wants to drag you with him is baffling." Li Feichuan was slightly confused. "Ahem." Su Yang smiled and said, "Honey, I guess my father-in-law knows that I am familiar with high-end clubs, so he wants me to lead the way for him to build up his courage." "Maybe so." Li Feichuan nodded, and then asked, "Su Yang, my dad didn't do any special projects, right?" "No, honey, don't worry. It's just a massage. I will take my father-in-law home later and I promise not to let him mess around." Su Yang promised. Concubine Li nodded, and then said with a blushing face, "Be careful yourself. There are all kinds of messy women in the club. They are not clean. Don't get sick." "Haha, wife, are you afraid that if I get sick, I will infect you?" Su Yang said with a bad smile. Li Feichuan gritted her teeth and said shyly, "What nonsense are you talking about? I won't give you the chance to infect me. Hey hey." Su Yang showed a playful smile and did not continue the topic, but said, "Wife, what are you doing?" What else can I do? It's all your fault. I'm grounded now." Li Feichuan said angrily, "Grandpa saw me and Su Xiantian interacting and thought I had cuckolded you. He was very angry. He punished me to memorize the Women's Sutra and asked me to learn the 3 obedience and 4 virtues of ancient women. If I don't memorize it until I am familiar with it, I will not be allowed to leave the room." "Well." Su Yang paused, then couldn't help laughing and said, "Haha, wife, you are so miserable." "Su Yang, you can still laugh. Do you know what else my grandpa said?" Li Feichuan gritted her teeth and asked herself, "He said that if I quarrel with you, let me slap myself twice first, because I am ashamed of you. If I don't fight myself, he will beat me when he finds out. He also said that from now on, if you don't come to pick me up at Li's house, I won't be able to leave the manor for even half a step." Li Feichuan said depressedly. "Damn it, Grandpa Li is closer than my own grandfather. He is so good to me." After Su Yang heard this, he suddenly became happy and said with a happy smile, "Honey, so you have to be polite to me and listen to me. Now I have someone to back me up." "Shut up, you liar," Li Feichuan said with a dark face. Su Yang smiled bitterly and said, "Why did I become a liar again? You are obviously Su Xiantian, why didn't you tell me?" Li Feichuan asked doubtfully. "You didn't even ask." Cut. Concubine Li showed her cute side, curled her lips, and then asked curiously, "No more joking, seriously, Su Yang, you are so strong now, is there anything in particular you want to do?" "Yes, of course." Su Yang nodded seriously. "What's the matter? Can you tell me something?" "Convenient." Su Yang looked at Li Feixuan on the screen and said seriously, "But what I want to do is very rough. There will definitely be blood, accompanied by screams, and hundreds of millions of living beings will die. Are you sure you want to listen? Is this an exaggeration?" "Sure." Originally, Li Feixuan just asked casually, but after hearing Su Yang's description, her curiosity was suddenly aroused, and she looked at Su Yang in the camera expectantly. "Well, after all, this matter has something to do with you, so I'll tell you." Su Yang nodded and said with a serious expression, "What I want to do most is to have sex with you, then have sex with you, and then have you have sex with me." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 187. Su Yang. After Li Feixuan heard Su Yang's words, 2 crimson clouds rose up on her beautiful face, and she said shyly, "You are shameless, what are you talking about? You are not ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Besides, this is what I want to do most." Su Yang said seriously. "Didn't you say it was very bloody?" There were also screams. Hundreds of millions of creatures died. Li Feixuan gritted her teeth and said, "How could such a huge scene be like that?" "Ahem." Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and smiled softly, "Honey, you have to believe me. When we consummate the marriage, I have the ability to make you scream." "Stinking rogue." Li Feixuan rolled her eyes at Su Yang angrily, and then asked, "Are you trying to say that billions of living beings are yours, hum?" "Hey, wife, you have become smarter." Su Yang smiled. "You are so shameless." Concubine Li Xuanyu's face turned red, she gritted her teeth and said, "What's the matter with blood? How can you see blood in such a thing?" "Hey, wife, my eyes are very poisonous. I can tell at a glance that you were there for the first time." Su Yang showed a playful smile and explained, "When you do it for the first time, you will definitely see blood. But don't worry, wife, I will be very gentle and never make you suffer too much." Su Yang said seriously. "Ah, you stinky scoundrel, you are so shameless, I don't want to deal with you anymore." Li Feixuan blushed and roared, but in her heart, she was full of expectations for what Su Yang said. "Feixuan, have you seen your dad?" At this moment, a middle-aged woman's voice suddenly came from the mobile phone. "No, no. It's strange, it's so late, where can he go?" "Mom, will Dad go to Grandpa's underground secret room? He has been staying there these past few days, as if he is learning some martial arts." Li Feixuan said politely, then looked at the phone screen and whispered, "Su Yang, I won't talk to you anymore. My mother is here. Take my father home quickly. My mother is looking for him. He will be back late, his end will be tragic." After saying that, Li Feixuan hung up the video call. "I didn't expect that my father-in-law's status in the family is so low. It's so pitiful." Su Yang smiled and put the phone away, but he did not rush Li Kuowu. After all, it was not easy to come to the club once, and everyone was a man. Su Yang definitely wanted his father-in-law to have a good time and enjoy himself to the fullest. Then, Su Yang came to the lobby, sat down on the sofa, and refused any arrangement from the manager. About an hour later, Li Kuowu walked out of the big room wearing pajamas provided by the club. "Su Yang, why are you still sitting here? Have you had a massage?" Li Kuowu asked. "Press it, I've done everything I should do." Su Yang smiled, then asked, "How are you, father-in-law, are you comfortable?" "Comfortable?" Li Kuowu moved his shoulders and said with a happy smile, "It's so refreshing. My whole body feels relaxed. Especially the foot massage, It's amazing. By the way, Su Yang, I heard that the club has other projects, how about we try them out again? No, father-in-law, it's getting late. Su Yang saw that Li Kuo was a little addicted and had to put the brakes on him, otherwise something would happen, so he smiled and said, Fixuan called me just now and said that my mother-in-law is looking for you, urging you to go home quickly. What? Hearing these words, Li Kuo's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately shrank, and asked hurriedly, Su Yang, you didn't tell concubine Xian about our visit to the club, did you? Su Yang said seriously, no, father-in-law, how can you talk about this kind of thing everywhere? If concubine Xian tells your mother-in-law, won't it cause trouble for you? Haha, Su Yang, well done, you are indeed my good son-in-law. Li Kuo patted Su Yang's shoulder appreciatively, and then urged, come on, let's go home quickly. Su Yang smiled softly and nodded. Subsequently, Su Yang and Li Kuo returned to the big room, changed back into the clothes they had taken off, and then went to the cashier. Young Master Su, your total consumption is 96,800, so just pay 90,000, the manager said politely. I forgot to bring cash when paying, Li Kuo was in trouble. We support card swiping and QR code scanning with mobile phones, the manager said. After hearing this, Li Kuo took out his mobile phone and scanned the club's payment QR code. The result showed that the payee was Jade Finger Wonderland Club, and he immediately gave up the payment. Father-in-law, what's wrong? Su Yang asked curiously. Your mother-in-law often checks my mobile phone. Scanning the QR code to pay will leave a record. If she sees that the payee is a high-end club, it will be troublesome, Li Kuo said with a bitter smile. Haha. Su Yang smiled softly and said, Father-in-law, let me pay. No, I said I wanted to treat you. Once I said it, it's hard to catch up. You can't go back on your promise. Li Kuo thought about it and suddenly had an idea, so he said, Su Yang, wait for me here. I'll be back soon. With that said, Li Kuo walked out of the Jade Finger Wonderland. When he came back, he had a thick stack of cash in his hand, no more, no less, just 90,000 yuan. Father-in-law, where did you get the cash? Su Yang asked doubtfully. Exchanged with a merchant. Li Kuo laughed and said, originally the merchant didn't have that much cash, so I sent him 100,000 yuan on my mobile phone. As long as he had 90,000 yuan in cash, he immediately raised money everywhere and got it all for me in a few minutes. Father-in-law is wise, Su Yang praised with a smile. Routine operations. Li Kuo waved his hand, and after paying the money, he drove out of Jade Finger Wonderland with Su Yang. Late at night, Su Yang and Li Kuo returned to the Li family manor. Su Yang wanted to see Li Fixuan, so he came to the living room with Li Kuo. At this moment, in the living room of the manor, there was a woman in her 40s who was beautiful, dignified, and without any wrinkles on her face. She is Li Fixuan's mother, Han Yongxia, whose status in the Li family is second only to Li Chunfeng. Now, when she saw Li Kuo and Su Yang walking into the living room, Han Yongxia had a gloomy look on her face. Li Chunfeng told Han Yongxia everything about Su Yang. Previously, Han Yongxia hated Su Yang, an ignorant young man. Especially recently, Su Yang not only bullied her eldest daughter, but also teased her younger daughter. The last time Su Yang deceived Li Kekai, telling Li Kekai that she could watch drama performances at a high-end club, and also arranged for Li Kekai to be a cowherd, etc. This incident was still fresh in Han Yongxia's memory, and she naturally did not have a good impression of Su Yang. However, now Han Yongxia knows that Su Yang is different from what he used to be. He has entered the middle stage of transforming energy and is an ancient warrior, so Han Yongxia's attitude towards Su Yang has changed. In addition, Han Yongzia also knew that her daughter had a story with the young earth sect Su Xiantian and had cuckolded Su Yang. This incident was so disgraceful that Han Yongzia also felt ashamed of Su Yang. Therefore, when she saw Su Yang at this time, Han Yongzia had a complicated expression, and she didn't know how to face Su Yang for a while. Simply, Han Yongzia did not look at Su Yang, her eyes fell on Li Kuowu, and said coldly, "Li Kuowu, it's so late, what are you doing?" Li Kuowu felt a little guilty and said quickly, "I was just going out for a walk with my uncle." "Yongzia, why aren't you sleeping yet? Don't be so rude to me. Why would I receive bank card deduction information when I go out for a walk?" Han Yongzia asked. Li Kuowu was very panicked and said with a forced smile, "My uncle and I were tired from walking, so we just ate something casually on the roadside. I can't make my uncle pay." "Really? Give me your phone," Han Yongzia said coldly. Li Kuowu naturally did not dare to refute, and handed the phone to Han Yongzia honestly, and said, "Yongzia, you can see for yourself, I really just ate something." Han Yongzia took the phone, looked through it, then stared at Li Kuowu, and said coldly, "Haha, the pei, Jiangnan soup dumplings. It's true that he's a caterer, but Li Kuowu, you ate soup dumplings worth 100,000 yuan, didn't you die from exhaustion?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 188. Soup Dumplings. Su Yang next to him had a look of astonishment on his face, and after reacting, he couldn't help but reveal a playful smile. "My father-in-law is really a fresh and refined flower. Eat, 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 just know how to eat." A soup-filled rice meal costing 100,000 yuan is obviously something fishy. He was very proud of himself before, but now he realizes that this is called cleverness being misled by cleverness. "Li Kuowu, you must give me an explanation today on what exactly these 100,000 yuan were spent on." At this moment, Han Yongzia said in a deep voice. "Yongzia, please keep your voice down. My uncle is still here. I will explain this to you later." Li Kuowu walked up to Han Yongzia, his face was ugly, and he lowered his voice and said, "This is the first time I see you. Don't let me see our jokes." "Haha, Li Kuowu, don't do this, I just want an explanation." Han Yongzia threw away Li Kuowu and said coldly, "Tell me, did you go somewhere you shouldn't have gone? If you confess, you will be lenient, if you resist, you will be stern." Li Kuowu's heart skipped a beat. Unexpectedly, Han Yongzia guessed it right away, and his face turned pale with fright. "Father-in-law." Seeing this, Su Yang next to him said, "Don't hide it, tell your mother-in-law. She will know about this sooner or later. If you don't tell me, I will." When Li Kuowu heard this, he immediately looked up at Su Yang and winked at Su Yang to signal him not to talk nonsense. "Li Kuowu, what are you looking at? Take your eyes away from Su Yang." Han Yongzia naturally noticed Li Kuowu's little actions. She first scolded her and then said, "Su Yang, don't hide it for him, and don't be afraid of him. Tell me what happened today and I will protect you. No one will dare to do anything to you." Sample. When saying this, Han Yongzia stared at Li Kuowu warningly. Li Kuowu shrank his head in fear, not daring to fart, and thought to himself, "It's over. Okay, mother-in-law, now that the matter is over, I won't hide it from you." Su Yang's eyes fell on Han Yongzia, and then he smiled softly and said, "Actually, my father-in-law used this money." At this point, Su Yang paused deliberately. Swish. Han Yongzia looked at Su Yang instantly, her eyes full of curiosity, wanting to know what was going on. As for Li Kuowu, he was extremely frightened and closed his eyes as if resigned to his fate. He was already determined to die. "I used it to buy you a gift at this time," Su Yang said the next words. Han Yongzia paused and asked doubtfully, "Buy me a gift?" "Yes. Su Yang nodded and said, when I was walking with my father-in-law tonight, we passed by a jewelry store. My father-in-law said that you have worked hard for the family for most of your life and have worked so hard. So I decided to buy you a necklace to compensate you. Will he be so kind? Han Yongzia's attitude improved obviously, and she said doubtfully, I just bought it. Why didn't he pay directly instead of paying the money to Jiangnan soup dumplings? Mother-in-law, that's it? Su Yang explained, my father-in-law said that you would check his mobile phone number. If you pay directly, wouldn't you know that he bought the necklace? My father-in-law planned to give you a surprise. Naturally, he didn't want you to know about it in advance, so he paid the money to a third party in exchange for a necklace bought in cash. At the end, Su Yang did not forget to praise Li Kuowu and smiled softly, mother-in-law, father-in-law is such a good man. He deliberately creates little surprises for you. He knows how to be romantic. The love between you two is the envy of others. Hearing these words, Han Yongzia's face instantly turned red and she felt a little embarrassed. Immediately afterwards, she looked at Li Kuowu and whispered, damn it, we are already an old couple, why are we still having this drama? Buy a necklace? What necklace? Wasn't it consumed at the club? At this moment, Li Kuowu was confused. After he came to his senses, he couldn't help but cast an admiring look at Su Yang. Then, Li Kuowu looked at Han Yongzia, smiled softly and said, Yongzia, when a husband and wife get along, there must be small surprises, otherwise the relationship will fade away. Damn it, you quite understand. Han Yongzia met Li Kuowu's gaze with a blushing face, and then said curiously, take out the necklace and let me see if it fits. Well. Li Fixuan's room is relatively large, decorated in pink style, and has its own bathroom. At the same time, he did not forget to turn around and thank Su Yang with his eyes. At this moment, there was the sound of water pouring on the body from the bathroom. Li Kuowu was dumbfounded. Where could he get the necklace? It was over now. He wanted to help, so he hurriedly asked Su Yang for help. So that's it? The servant wanted to knock on the door, but Su Yang stopped him. Nowadays, Su Yang has taken the Tongshen pill and entered the middle stage of energy transformation. He is extremely talented and is indeed a good candidate for his son-in-law. Honey, you are so polite. Li Kuowu glanced at Su Yang gratefully, and then said with a smile, you have paid so much for your family, it's just a necklace, you deserve it. Su Yang looked over intently, fearing that he would miss the beautiful scenery. The pitter-patter. Yes, young Master Su. Yes, mother-in-law, where is concubine Xian? Su Yang asked with a smile. About a few minutes later, Su Yang came outside Li Fixuan's room. She's in her room. I'll have someone show you the way. You go and talk to her, Han Yongzia said with a smile, fully recognizing Su Yang. That won't work. Your father-in-law and I have something to discuss. Han Yongzia blushed and said shyly, damn it, let's go back to the room. But soon, he was dumbfounded because the girl taking a bath was not Li Fixuan, but Su Yang showed a playful smile, and then his eyes fell on the frosted glass. Ah, okay, okay. Li Kuowu saw his wife's expression and instantly understood what she meant. After laughing, he picked up Han Yongzia and left the living room. Su Yang had already thought of a countermeasure, and smiled and said, father-in-law is very attentive to you. The necklace he bought is customized individually and requires real name authentication. A man can only order one in his lifetime, so I haven't gotten the necklace yet. You have to wait 3 or 4 days before you can go to the jewelry store to pick it up. The person in the bathroom is tying up his hair, which must have been washed. Su Yang used his spiritual energy to pry open the anti-theft lock and entered the room without alerting anyone in the room. After listening to Su Yang's explanation, Han Yongzia felt even better. She looked at Li Kuowu with tender eyes. Kuowu, I was too cruel to you just now. I apologize to you. Su Yang smiled, and then led by his servants to Li Feixuan's room. As Su Yang expected, soon a figure wrapped in a bath towel walked out of the bathroom. You are over 40 years old, how can you still be so fussy? The servant responded respectfully, then bent down and strode away. There's no need to knock on the door. You can go back first and I'll just go in by myself, Su Yang said calmly. Mother-in-law. My wife is taking a shower. Thank you, mother-in-law. Just ask my father-in-law to take me there. No need to trouble anyone, Su Yang said with a smile. Han Yongzia nodded lightly, turned to look at Su Yang next to her, and asked, Su Yang, are you here to see concubine Xian? Immediately afterwards. Through the frosted glass, an exquisite figure can be clearly seen. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 189. Li Kekai. The girl taking a shower turned out to be Li Kekai. Su Yang was stunned on the spot, with astonishment written all over his face. A man suddenly appeared in the room, and Li Kekai was stunned. She blinked and didn't react for a while. Su Yang. You stinky scoundrel. After Li Kekai came to her senses, she immediately raised her arm, pointed at Su Yang, and gritted her teeth and said, how dare you peek at me taking a shower, you are shameless. It was a good thing that she didn't raise her hand. As soon as she raised her hand, the bath towel slipped off and fell to the ground. What should be seen and what should not be seen are all exposed under Su Yang's nose. Ah! Li Kekai blushed, hurriedly bent down, picked up the bath towel, wrapped it in key areas, and shouted angrily, damn Su Yang, get out of the room quickly, otherwise I will call someone. Li Kekai, let's talk things over, okay? Do I want to peek at you? Su Yang said truthfully, I thought the person in the bathroom was Fei Xian, so I took a second look. Feixuan is my wife. I regard my own wife as my wife. Isn't that too much? Su Yang curled his lips and continued, if I knew it was you in the bathroom, even if you knelt down to beg me, I wouldn't look at it. Why are you pretending to be a gentleman, and a beautiful beauty like a flower comes out of the bathroom, and you don't want to see her? Li Kekai was unconvinced. He. Su Yang glanced at Li Kekai, and then said disdainfully, Li Kekai, you don't even look in the mirror. Look at your whole body. What is attractive about you? They are two such small things, no bigger than an apple. I'm afraid of getting needle holes just by looking at them. Su Yang, you. Li Kekai was furious, wrapped herself in a bath towel, gritted her teeth and said, are you blind? I'm too young. Hey, Li Kekai, you have to recognize the reality. Small is small. This is an unchangeable fact. Su Yang saw Li Kekai wrapped in a bath towel and couldn't help but said, I advise you not to wrap it in a bath towel. The act of wrapping in a bath towel is only for those who are older. A person like you, who is so smooth, doesn't stand out enough and can't stand out at all. Su Yang then laughed and said, others can really wrap themselves in a bath towel, but you have to hold the towel with your hands after wrapping it, otherwise the towel will fall off. Don't explain this. The moment you let go and pointed at me, the towel fell off. Su Yang said seriously, Li Kekai, I advise you to put a bath towel on your body and stop wrapping it like others. Su Yang, my star, you are a big star. Li Kekai was ashamed by Su Yang's words, but she could not find a reason to refute Su Yang. Because Su Yang was right, she also realized that the position of wrapping the bath towel was not suitable for her. Every time she wrapped it in a bath towel, it would easily slip off. At first, Li Kekai thought she was wrapped in the wrong way, but now she realized that it was because she was too small. But Su Yang is too irritating. It's okay if you know it yourself. Why do you say it out loud? You won't save any face for me. You're going to piss me off to death. Li Kekai, don't be angry. Nowadays, medicine is advanced and many plastic surgery hospitals are safe and reliable. You still have a chance to grow bigger at this time, Su Yang reassured. Su Yang, shut up. Li Kekai gritted her teeth and said, what's wrong with my little one? What's wrong with my little one? It's none of your business, I don't need you to give me any advice. Li Kekai said angrily, also, I am proud of myself. I can save fabrics. I am happy to be so small. Well, I've made the decision, and the Pacific Ocean will be yours to take care of from now on. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said with a playful smile. How dare you laugh at me? Li Kekai couldn't bear it anymore, ran to the sofa, picked up a pillow and hit Su Yang. Su Yang jumped to avoid being hit by her. Su Yang, why are you here? At this time, Li Feixuan walked in from outside. Su Yang's eyes fell on Li Feixuan, and he smiled softly, I want to see you and see what you have done. It's not because of you that Grandpa asked me to recite the Women's Sutra. I've already learned it well. I just asked Grandpa to recite the Women's Sutra. Li Feixuan looked at Su Yang, then at Li Kekai, and suddenly said in surprise, you. Sister, you have to make the decision for me. Li Kekai complained, I came out of the bathroom just now, and Su Yang was standing in the room. He was peeping at me. Why are you spying? I dare to say with a pat on my chest, I didn't spy on you, Su Yang explained, patting his chest at the same time. Cut. Li Kekai looked at Su Yang with disdain, and then said, I dare to pat my chest and say, you are spying on me. Haha, forget it. You obviously don't have that thing, so why take a picture? Su Yang smiled softly. Sister, you heard it, Su Yang is laughing at me, Li Kekai said through gritted teeth. Seeing this, concubine Li tightened her hair on her forehead and said with a smile, okay, Kekai, you and Su Yang should have a misunderstanding. Stop arguing, calm down, and go back to the room to rest. Su Yang, I'll give my sister some face, otherwise today's business won't be over. Li Kekai waved her pink fist, left a word, and angrily left Li Feixuan's room and walked into her room next door. Baffling. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and asked doubtfully, honey, why is Li Kekai here with you? The water heater in her room broke. Our rooms are next to each other, so she came to my place to take a bath, Li Feixuan explained. So that's it? Su Yang nodded, then smiled, and said, honey, thank you for trusting me. I really didn't mean to see it. I thought the person in the bathroom was you. Su Yang, so you plan to peek at me taking a shower, Li Feixuan said angrily. Su Yang stepped forward and hugged Li Feixuan, and said with a playful smile, it's not considered voyeurism. I can see my wife whenever I want. How can I use the word steal? Go away, stay away from me. Li Feixuan distanced herself from Su Yang, and then said, now I am Susuanation's woman, and both my grandfather and father think that I have a relationship with Su Xiantian. Su Yang, don't get too close to me. From now on, I will keep my distance from you. The Prince Charming in my heart is no longer you, but Su Xiantian. Li Feixuan said half-jokingly, also, we can't meet again. If Su Xiantian bumps into him, he will be angry. Yeah. Su Yang directly held down Li Feixuan's arm, pushed her against the wall domineeringly and roughly, and kissed her directly without giving her a chance to speak. Whoa! This was not the first time she was kissed. Li Feixuan only struggled symbolically, and then began to cooperate with Su Yang in response. Hey, the two kissed passionately in the room next door. After Li Kekai returned to the room, she lay down on the bed. She could just hear the sounds coming from her sister's room, so she could naturally guess what Su Yang and her sister were doing. This made the untouched Li Kekai's face instantly become hot and her heart was beating wildly. She felt extremely shy, but she couldn't help but prick up her ears and eavesdrop. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 190. What girl is not pregnant? Li Kekai is almost 20 years old, but because she knows martial arts, she is usually too strong, like a fierce little tiger, and no boy wants to get close to her. Even if a boy pursues her, she will beat him away with a baseball bat, so in terms of relationships, Li Kekai is still blank. But she is full of desire and yearning for things between men and women. This is a kind of throbbing from the bottom of the human heart, which will be even stronger under the secretion of hormones. Such as this moment. When Li Kekai heard the movement in the next room, her face turned red instantly, and she felt as if a deer was jostling in her heart. The night is long and I have no intention of sleeping. At the same time. Next room. Li Feixuan felt particularly happy. Su Yang also enjoyed this wonderful time. After a few minutes, Su Yang suddenly remembered something and smiled softly. "Honey, let me show you something." "What?" Li Feixuan asked curiously. "You'll find out soon enough." With that said, Su Yang unzipped his jacket. Li Feixuan was in danger tonight. Fortunately, she arrived in time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. But Su Yang couldn't always save the day, so he thought of the white cat. A few days ago, he planned to give the white cat to Li Feixuan, but the white cat was practicing at the time. Now that the white cat has finished his training and is in a daze of boredom in the storage ring, Su Yang communicates with the white cat and asks him to protect Li Feixuan in the future. Naturally, Bai Mao would not refuse Su Yang's request and respectfully agreed. At this moment, the reason why Su Yang pulled up the zipper was to pretend that the white cat had been inside his clothes. After all, the storage ring was too magical, and Su Yang didn't want Li Feixuan to be too surprised. "Su Yang, just look at things. Why are you taking off your clothes?" As Li Feixuan was talking, she saw the white cat, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she said happily, "Wow, this little thing is so fluffy and so cute. Haha, you like it? This is the gift I prepared for you. It will belong to you from now on. You can touch it with your hands." "Giggle, Su Yang, thank you. I like it so much. Look, it raises its head." "Su Yang, is it fierce?" "Of course. After all, you can go anywhere and everywhere. You touch its fur first. Once it gets used to it, it will listen to you." "Yeah, I really like it. Can I kiss it?" "Okay, kiss me." After Li Feixuan saw the white cat, her eyes widened. She hugged the white cat and touched and kissed it. However, these words changed in the ears of Li Kekai next door. At this time, Li Kekai's small face was as red as a ripe apple, as if it could be squeezed to bleed. She heard the conversation between Su Yang and Li Feixuan just now. It was so exciting. "The things Su Yang showed to my sister required me to take off my clothes to see them, and they were also hairy." Li Kekai was so shy that in the end, she couldn't bear it anymore, so she simply covered herself with a quilt and fell asleep. At this moment. Next room. Li Feixuan took out the ham sausage placed in the room and was playing with the white cat. The white cat gave her a blank look and had no chance. "Su Yang, what's going on? Doesn't it eat ham?" Li Feixuan was slightly disappointed. "Eat, she eats everything." Su Yang responded with a smile, then looked at White Cat, and said through the soul, "White Cat, please cooperate, she is your mistress." "Master, I don't want a mistress. Can I stay with you? I have a small appetite, and I will never cause trouble. I just lie in the storage ring," the white cat responded with a sweet girlish voice. Sounded in Su Yang's mind. No. Su Yang refused. White cat, be obedient and take good care of Li Feichuan. Don't let her have any accidents. Also, please cooperate. All right. The white cat reluctantly agreed, then wagged its tail and ate the ham given by concubine Li. Haha, so cute. Li Feichuan hugged Teddy with joy, and then asked, Su Yang, does it have a name? Yes, yes, her name is White Cat. Su Yang smiled. A brown dog, you name it a white cat, Li Feichuan complained by her real name, it's too ugly, no, I want to give it a different name. At the same time, the white cat's soul sent a message, okay, master, change the name. The white cat is really ugly. Haha, okay. Su Yang did not refuse. He named him White Cat before. He just remembered his spiritual pet in the Xiantian immortal realm and missed him, so he called him White Cat. Now there is nothing wrong with changing the name, honey, please give me a name. Li Feichuan thought for a while, and then said, I took a look just now. It is a female. The name must be more feminine. Why not call it Shifen? Shifen, haha, what a good name. Su Yang paused and couldn't help but praise, Bai Mao, from now on you will be called Shifen. White cat. Owner. Can I say no? What a white cat, what Shifen. You two are so talented, don't treat me like a dog. Thinking about it, I will become the great emperor of demons in the future. When I go out to sign up, I will be the great emperor Shifen. I can't afford to lose this person. Of course, it was useless for Bai Mao to disagree. Su Yang and Li Feichuan unanimously approved the name Shifen. Next. Su Yang and Li Feichuan stayed in the room for a while, and then Su Yang left. He was worried about Su Yuyu. After leaving the Li family manor, he drove straight to the riverside villa. When we returned to the villa, it was already past 11 o'clock in the evening, and Su Yuyu hadn't come back yet. Su Yang couldn't help but frown, wondering why it took so long to eat barbecue. At this moment, Su Yang received a call from an unfamiliar number, but a familiar voice came from the other side. Su Yang, do you still remember me? A few days ago, you caused me to lose everything and escape from Jiangbei in embarrassment. You didn't expect me to come back so soon. The little girl in your villa and Fu's mother are all here with me. I want you to, if they want to survive, come to Dongshan Forest. Hearing this voice, Su Yang's face instantly darkened, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent.